All right, we're finishing with God's help the mimer, the Hasidic discourse that we began a couple of days ago. We're talking about the battle between Yaakov and the angel. Yaakov and the angel. So Yaakov fought against an angel, and we asked, how is this really possible that a human being can fight against an angel? And we reminded that the Jewish people are connected to God. The Jewish people are called God's chosen people. We're also called the sons of God. And that will be called the sons of God. That comes later when the Jewish people go out of Egypt. And then at Mount Sinai, they're called the servants of God. And then they're also called the wife of God. Right? King Solomon reminded us. So the Jewish people, in other words, they're not really 100% as it is now, part of the creation. They're more part of the creator. That's what they're supposed to be. They're part of the creator. They're supposed to remember that they're here in this world for a purpose, namely to connect to their source and to reveal that the world is being created by God all the time, and that the creator can be found in everything. But the creator God is not like anything in the creation. God is like something like a human being is not the same thing as his life. Right? There's a person, and then there's the person's life. So a lot of people discovered, especially big dictators, that if you threaten people and you threaten with their lives, then they'll change their whole personality. Because life is a thing which is not understandable. It's something that's really above all logic. The same thing is the Jewish people, so to speak, they have two types of life. They have a natural life, and then they have, like everybody else, and then with emotions and with conscience and with the intellect and with this, but then they also have a godly life. And we see that the Jewish people are willing to even relinquish their physical life for the sake of their Jewish life. That's called their nefesh. It's called the nefesh elokis. It's a godly life. And just like a person is willing to give his life for his money or something like that, because it touches on the essence of his life, or if he's threatened with a gun, he'll do anything. Right? Except for certain things he might not do. So that's a higher level of his life, right? A person is threatened if he doesn't lie, if he doesn't cheat, whatever. Some people are willing to risk their lives. These are the times to try men's soul. The people willing to risk their lives, not to be intimidated or whatever. Well, it's the same thing because their conscience somehow or other rules over. It's more important, these principles of truth and good and justice, and they're willing to give their life. Well, a Jewish person has that, but in addition to that, he also has that he's willing to give his life for his Judaism. Even if he's alone, right? Nobody sees him, nobody knows anything about him, he's not, impressing his friends, he's not thinking about, even a non-religious Jew, he's not thinking about going to heaven or something. He's not doing it for a cause, for that. So Jewish people are connected to God. So that's what's going on over here. How can Yaakov fight against an angel? Because the angels are created by God, and God is the father, the source, the essence of the soul of every Jew. Every Jew. Oh. So now it's not so simple, because so what's he fighting with an angel for? Let him run away from the angel. So he says, no, that's the whole point of Yaakov. Yaakov realized that the whole point of man is to fix up the world, not to run away from the world. As pleasant as it might be to sit on some, island or a forest or somewhere and to be alone, but that's not the goal. Or to be alone with just, the things that you like. But that's not the goal. The goal is to somehow or other fix up the world. Right? Everybody in their own thing, but especially the Jews. The non-Jews have to make an orderly world, and the Jews have to make a holy world to really realize God. So that's the angel of Esav. The angel of Esav is everybody does what they want, and the angel of Jacob is everybody does what the Creator wants. And so that's the whole battle. What are you going to do? So this battle also occurs inside of each and every one of us constantly. You think to yourself, am I a normal person or am I Jew? We see now in the world, that's how I also became religious. I told you this story, I think. This is like 50 years ago. So I was in a lecture, and somebody made the speaker made a derogatory remark about the Jews. And I thought that Judaism was nothing real. I didn't have any idea what it was, but it was certainly not important. It was not to be any feature of your life. It's just an interesting thing. Like if you have curly hair or something like that. It means absolutely nothing. And suddenly this professor, he got, said a bad thing about the Jews. I thought, what is there even to talk about them at all? So I realized he must be more inspired with Judaism than I am. I mean, it must be a real thing. And that's what's happening now in the world also. We're starting to realize that there's a battle going on over here. And the battle is between Yaakov and the angel of Esav. What is world identity? Is identity just everybody does what they want? Or is it going to be everybody does what God wants? And basically all the religions in the world are doing what I want. Because if they would do what God wants, then they would do 7 Noahide commandments. That's the only time that God ever spoke to a nation and told them what he wants from the world, from all mankind. Right? That was at Mount Sinai. So that's the 7 Noahide commandments, or at least they would be interested, what is going on. But instead they reinterpreted or misinterpreted or totally ignored this whole message, and the Jewish people also. So that's the whole battle going on now. What's the identity? Are we identifying with Yaakov or with Esau? So it says, if you identify with Yaakov, then you're not going to have a very easy life, but you're going to have a life. That's the purpose of being in the world. So it says, okay, Yaakov, the question is asked, so the Rebbe asks the question, how can evil exist? How can evil exist? At first glance, you can say very simply, God's the creator, good, God's the creator, so he's the creator. So he's creating evil. If he creates evil, it must be that he wants it to be here. So what are you messing around with the world for and trying to change the world and everybody has to do what God says? I'm doing what God says. I'm creating, I'm being, so how does it really evil exist? So the Rebbe says that God wants it to be here. He wants it to be that there's the option of it in the world. And how does it succeed in the world? It says from God's backside, from the back, like a person that gives to an enemy over his back. I heard once a very good lecture, a very good speaker in Israel. His name was Rabbi Sofer, Yecheskel Sofer. And he talked about this very subject. How can evil exist? So he said, it was like, there was a book which was called Justice in Jerusalem or something. And it was talking about the Eichmann trials. It says that when the people that caught Eichmann, they caught him like in the 50s or something in Argentina. And the people that went out to catch him, they were all either Holocaust survivors or first generation from their parents had been Holocaust survivors. And Eichmann, he was like the big, and he was he was the one who engineered this whole entire thing of the Holocaust. And there's probably a lot more details than I'm saying, but he was one of the big directors or the originators or whatever anyway of the Holocaust. He was very intimately involved in every detail of the Holocaust. So they caught him in Argentina, and they had to hold him prisoner for like 8 days or something like that, a couple of weeks. So they held him prisoner in some abandoned house that they had, the isolated house that they had rented, and they held him there. So they would have liked to personally have killed him, taken out his eyes, tortured him, who knows what. But they couldn't because they had a higher purpose. They wanted to bring him to court, bring him to trial. And it ended up, I mean, I don't know, if it was a good thing that they did by keeping him alive, but they brought him to trial. That was their goal, was to bring him to trial. And it ended up that there did definitely come out good things from it. Namely, a lot of people that were Holocaust survivors that had made it to Israel, and they locked themselves in their houses. They didn't want to come out because they figured nobody would ever believe what they had to say. And suddenly they saw it on television. It was televised. And so good came out of it. They came out of their houses. People started talking. But the point is that they kept them alive for a higher purpose. The same thing is that God keeps evil alive for a higher purpose. And that purpose is that we should transform it. Somehow we should transform it. And you can say, well, this is Eichmann, the guy says, that's Amalek. It has to be totally destroyed. So the answer is, even in that, there's certain advantages. There's certain good comes. It says that, therefore, it says, Milchamas Amalek, and the Warmoma. No. One. We got up to here somewhere. We got up to here. Where do we get? Oh, so okay. So if you remember, we talked about last time that there are three basic levels in creation of the world. There's the essence of God, that He wants good and He doesn't want bad. He wants us to transform it. Then there's what's called the middle level, which is called the surrounding aspect of God. Soviv Kolmin. And there it doesn't make any difference to Him. From this, there's an aspect of God that it doesn't make any difference to Him, good or bad. Doesn't make any difference to Him, good or bad. That's sort of like these, the Israelis holding on to Eichmann. They overlooked the bad. They didn't look bad. He's a person just like everyone else. They're bringing him for a higher purpose. They're going to take him. So they keep him alive. So from this aspect, so to speak, there's no difference between good and bad. It's just a person, just a person. So God keeps evil alive. And then there is in this world where evil can succeed. We see with that evil actually can succeed. So how does evil succeed? Because it attaches itself to this middle level we're talking about, where there's no difference between good and bad. They say with this Eichmann that how did they smuggle him out of Argentina? That they gave him an LL uniform, like a captain on a ship, and then they gave him an injection or something, and they said they took him through. They said he was sick. He was sick, and they had to take him back home. They put him on they put this uniform on it, and they said that when they put the uniform on him, they stood him in front of a mirror that he should look, and as soon as he saw he was in a uniform again, suddenly he stood up straight, and he was in a uniform. It was like, maybe I'm going to get out of this thing. I'm a general again. That's the same thing as evil. In this week's Torah, Haftorah, it's Ovadiah's message to the non-Jews. It says, even if you elevate yourself like an eagle, I'm going to bring you down. How did you elevate yourself? How? So it says, Ki. It says, that's what it means that God's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, this is the Yud, the letters of God's name, shows how God creates the world and is creating the world constantly. 1 minute. I have an important note over it. Okay, good. How God is creating the world. Rak Misham Oridacha says, from there I will take you down. You're in this world. The world, in the world, evil can elevate itself because it attaches itself to this middle level, which is called Sovev Cholim, that surrounds. But God's essence, which is above the whole thing, that wants good and not bad. It says, from then, Havaya is Histalshalus. The name of God's name, that's this lower aspect, the lower, the third aspect of how God's creating the world. This is Histalshalus Tzimtzum, how God, so to speak, contracts His light and brings it down and articulates it so it can make all sorts of worlds, Akudim, Nakudim. From Misham, from there, Oridacha, I will bring you down. Sha'alpi, that according to the way that the world is created, Tzimtzum, which is all this, how God speaks, so to speak, Liod Nimshach Panemius, will be in the inside, Ein or Ein Sof Baruch Hu Shora Elab Misha Batal. The way the world goes in the world, the way things go in the world is there's a big difference in the world. How can you reveal holiness in the world? We said there's three levels. There's the essence of God, there's the surrounding level, and then there's what's called the internal level. It's called Mamalik Holman, how God fills the worlds. In this physical world, the only way you can reveal godliness is by means of surrendering. You have to use your free will and surrender yourself to God. How can you surrender yourself to God? That's what Yaakov wanted to do to Esav, to surrender him to the Creator. This is means of Esrus Dilatata. The only way that you can bring godliness into this lowest third level, into the world, this is by an arousal from below. Yaakov, that's Yaakov. That Yaakov, that Yaakov, he drew down these levels into the world, spiritual. The higher levels he drew into the bottom. I know Tzimtzum or Ein Sof, that God should somehow or other fit himself, derech kedusha, into holiness. Al yadei bechinas bittul, by means of the surrender. So if you surrender yourself to God, then there can be revelation. If you do everything exactly the way God wants, then there'll be revelation of God. Like we talked about in music, right? You have a violin. If you do exactly what you're supposed to with a violin, then it's beautiful. If you don't, then it's not, it's confusion. But some people like that confusion. And therefore, Yabeki Shimo Sharatzo Hasam Lagbia Kenesher. That's what it means that he fought this angel. This angel was the forces of separation, the forces of egotism, of that's called evil. Evil. You lift yourself up like an eagle. That's talking about the Samach Mem, or another word for the devil, the angel of death, the power of evil in the world. It elevates itself like an eagle to show how high and great it is. Like Eichmann putting on the uniform, right? Suddenly he realizes, oh, I'm back in the saddle again. So Yaakov wanted to bring this down, wanted to convince Esav that, listen, you're being created by God. Come on. God is not just this separate thing. It's religion against the state and whatever. But there's one God. He's creating everything. He's creating you. And he has a plan. Get with the plan. And Esav said, listen, there's one creator. He's creating everything. And he's creating me. And I'm doing what I want to. So Yaakov, Mufchar, Shabavo. So Yaakov is trying to get Esav to be surrendered to this highest level of godliness. The purpose of creation. Yaakov, he is the choice of the fathers. Avos, Enan, Merkava, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They are what's called vehicles. They are vehicles for godliness. Good morning, Paul. The father, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they are like vehicles. They are receptacles. But it's called a Merkava because a receptacle just stands there, doesn't do anything. But a Merkava, it moves. There's a driver and it moves. So the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were receptacles for godliness. Like we said, a violin can be the receptacle for beautiful music. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were receptacles. They revealed in the world the oneness of God. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were chesed, gavur, and tiferet. Shebebechinas bittul, namely love of God, fear of God, purpose for God, tiferet, beauty. That's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's what they brought into the world. Love of God, awe of God, and the purpose of God. They were bittul, but they surrendered themselves totally to Hainu, namely Bechinas Chabad, Ein Lahem Achizat, namely the bittul that they had, the surrender that they had, that was in their chesed, the Chachma Bin and Das. In the Chizah, what does it mean? Listen, Chachma Bin and Das is understanding. If a person understands things differently, then he becomes different. According to your understanding, that's how your emotions are. That's what your emotions are. That's what all these evil leaders there are in the world. And they convince people to use their emotions, in this case for destructive things. Well, you can also use that your intellect controls your emotions. The intellect can also control your emotions for good things. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were selfish like everybody else. They had the tendency, the ability to be selfish like everybody else. They had love, fear. Where did they direct it to? It says they directed it to their Chabad, Chachma Bin Adat. They were aware of godliness. They were aware of God. Therefore, when a person is really aware of the truth of God, then Ein Lehem Achiza. When a person is really aware of the truth, then there's no, let's say, take an example. A person is he's a religious, whatever is the Muslim. And all of a sudden come the Crusades, and come the Christians, they take over, and the Muslim says, well, these guys are winning, I'm changing my religion. That's all. And then the next couple with the Muslims come and say, if you remain the Christian, I'm going to kill you. So they changed the religion back, right? And they did it en masse. Except for those people that they really believed, I'm going to go to heaven because this is the way, only this way and not that way. Okay, but a Jew, he's talking about the truth. What is the truth? Not just what it says in this book, not just what's going to benefit me. What's the benefit for me? Is this religion going to take me into heaven, or where should I put my money? Where should I put my energy? A Jew suddenly realizes the truth. God exists. God is the creator of the whole universe. A Jew can realize the truth of this. When he realizes the truth of this, then evil, the world, or selfishness has no say at all. No say at all. So they say, we're going to kill you, we'll torture you, we'll do this. I don't want to die, I don't want to get tortured, but I'm surely not going to lose the truth. That's what it means. Bad has no hold over them at all. And bad can only hold, it can sway your chesed gevurah tiferes, your emotions. Shem midot palot midabitl. They are your emotions, how you react to the ideas that you're surrendered to. V'sham, in the emotions, there's an echiza, zelu u'matzeh, dacha da klipa. There's what's called the masculine aspect of bad, neged zer anpin, etc. That a person becomes actively selfish, right? He's convinced in his mind that all there is me, and I'm going to do what I want, whatever makes me feel good. That's what I'll do. I mean, that's, you can see in the world now that there's all these different philosophies, and it was the same thing in World War II, right? Uniting against the Jews, right? The Muslims and the Nazis united against the Jews. What do they got in common? What do they have in common? Their whole philosophies are different, right? But when it comes to saying, I want to be the boss, versus is God going to be the boss, everybody unites against God. I want to do it. I understand that Nazism is better. I understand that Islam is better. I understand this. Everything is I. Comes along the Jews and say, yeah, but God doesn't say that. Get them, knock them down. Let's unite together. Get them. That's not the case. That's what it means, Chabad. The problem is the only way that you can connect or you even know that God exists is in your mind. You have to think. You have to use your mind. You have to use your power of faith, understanding, connection. When that notice shekol makifim, you know that every of the surrounding levels, all these religions, they come from bina. V'makif hu doche hachitzonim. And if you get to the inside of what's called the makif, then that pushes away all of these bad emotions. You don't get excited anymore about bad things. As soon as a person becomes objective, that the evil can only be in the 7 low emotions. If you see that, I don't like to do it, and I only do it anyway, places where you can't learn Torah, but there's these certain individuals that they go around to college campuses and they debate the students, and the students come up with these like stupid ideas about LGBT and stuff like that, and they just give them an idea and they can't answer the questions. They just get all emotional. Their emotions rule over. Right? When emotions rule, so intellect doesn't. But if intellect starts to rule, then the emotions aren't, a person becomes calm. Will you listen for a minute to what I have to say? Right? Then you can have an argument and a person can change his mind. Right? You can change his mind. Once his emotions are set on a certain thing, this is especially true in addictions. People are addicted, they're addicted to alcohol or whatever because they like it. They go to class and they say, listen, logically think what you're doing. It's not good. It's destroying your life. It's a bad thing. There's other options. They have to use their mind. When a person uses his mind, then his emotions don't rule so much. The purpose of the Jewish people, that's Chabad Hasidut, is to use your mind and think, what is really true? Does God really exist? Is God really creating us? Is the Torah really the truth? Is the Torah unchangeable? Think about it. Try to understand. When you realize the truth of the thing, the truth is above any emotions, and then the emotions cannot be affected by bad things. I'm not going to do that. Why? Because it says in the Torah you're not supposed to. Yeah, but this big rabbi, he does it, and he does it. I don't care what everybody does. I know in the Torah that this is what it says. I'm not going to do it, right? But here, I'll give you $1 million. You can give charity. You'll go to heaven. You'll do the right. Just all you have to do is just vote for my thing. I'm sorry, I can't. It's against the Torah. I can't do it. That was a big thing. Miu Yehudi, the Rebbe had a. How can below it says therefore only in the lowest, the emotions. That's what Esav was. Emotions. The emotions, that's where selfishness, evil rules, but not in what's called the Holy of Holies. That's where Chabad is. Chachma Bina Das, awareness of God. The Yuvan, so you can understand. By the way, the Rebbe said an interesting, that the Torah, the Jewish Torah is called Torah Chaim. The Torah tells us what life is. All the other religions in the world are dictated by what people want, what their life is, their lifestyle is this, like this. So they made up a Bible that appeals to them. A Jewish person, the Torah, a person that does the Torah You see a Jew that does do the Torah and a Jew that doesn't believe in the Torah. It's just two different worlds. It could be just two different totally worlds. A person that does, listen, that's also not saying that, it fixes you up automatically, but you learn the Torah, it fixes you up automatically 10%. Automatically. You act differently, you think differently, your goals are different. There's much less of a chance you're going to steal, or that you're going to murder, that you're going to cheat on your wife. Much less of a chance. Not that it's not possible. Definitely it's possible. To the degree that you leave your chachma being a das and you let your emotions rule, then anything is possible. But as soon as a person really thinks according to what does God really want, so that controls the emotions. That's the battle of Yaakov and Esav. Intellect versus emotions. Who rules? The emotions rule, and then afterwards you make excuses up. Or does intellect rule, and that controls what you love and what you hate? Humans, we can understand this by a person. Achra tefillah, after a person, when you pray, you're supposed to be thinking about God. After you finish praying, then you don't have this love of God anymore. You're not thinking about God. Lefi, because sha'aba he nasit panemius, because the love is internal, which is not the case. That's me, which is not the case. The ideas that I had when I was praying, that when I finish praying, then it's external to me. It's the thing that I did, but my emotions are with me right now. It says, "Shat tefillah," when a person that was praying, right, it finishes praying, all of a sudden money is a big thing. He answers the cellular phone, right, with the stock went up, went down, which is not the case when a person is praying. When a person is praying, then Yaakov is dominant. Shesoger and he closes his eyes. He doesn't see the world. Then mitor it's lo ahava. Then he has love. Then he has love of God. But as soon as he opens up his eyes again, then he sees the world and all of its pleasures and all of its worries. Then the only thing that will push away all of your egotism is something that's above understanding, namely she'eno nigbal b'kli. It's not in a vessel. Shu davar kayam la'ad. That's the thing that's eternal. In other words, when you think, your mind can control your emotions, but that's only if your mind is aware of the Creator, and the Creator is totally not understandable. Can't understand. But when your mind is aware of that, that's called faith. It's called love. It's called the love of the heart, ruta de liba. It's called ruta. Like it says in Parshas Kodesh, zichron beinenecha. That's what you have to always remember. The Fisha Parshas bechinas chachma mochen da'aba. In your tefillin, you have 4 paragraphs of the Torah where the commandment of tefillin is written, and one of them it says zachor, remember. You have to remember shemal mitlabshim be'ema makar makifim, that in your understanding can be how God is totally above us. That's what it means. You have to remember. Therefore, by Amalek, to fight against Amalek, it says lo tishkach, don't forget. Again, when a person is praying, so he's thinking about God, then his emotions are calm. Nothing's going to get him angry. Nothing's in the world. The world doesn't have an effect on him. As soon as he finishes, he forgets this connection that he had to God. He forgets the awareness that he had that I'm just a creation. He forgets that I have a purpose in the world. When he was thinking about it, when he was praying, he gets emotional about it. Wow, I'm really being created. I really have a purpose. God really loves me. God cares about me. And that's when he's praying. But when he stops praying, so then he forgets this connection to God. He forgets how God is above his understanding. And then sets in his egotism. Egotism, that's Amalek. The only way to destroy Amalek is by not forgetting. Don't forget the truth. Shicha, when a person forgets, he stalkus hamochin, means that you goes away your awareness of chachma, of faith, you want to call it, above understanding, should be stalkus hamochin, when it goes away the mochin of Abba. Abba's father, that's chachma. Chachma is what's above bina, it's above understanding. In simple language, it's called faith. But faith in a way that's relevant to your understanding. You realize, you understand that God is above understanding and God is creating me. When that chachma goes away, that realization, when it goes, histalkos mochen da'aba, bebechinas amidos, in emotions, she'ein lehem elo mochen dianika, then all they have is a little bit of life of their own, sham there, then they can be easily tricked. That's why the young children, that's why it's such a terrible thing. Young children, generally speaking, that's the way it used to be up to now, right? The young children are not responsible for their actions. They're easily swayed. They're not responsible for the actions. There's another having in the schools, they have these things. The young children can decide, to make operations on themselves. Insane. Young children are not responsible. Young children, that's like emotions. Young children are pure emotions. Their mind, intellect is not developed properly and sufficiently that they can think of things bigger than themselves. And they're swayed by very simple things. As most people are children to the end of their lives, right? They're just swayed by easy little things. Somebody says a bad word to them, they get all depressed. Somebody says a good word, they're happy. And if a person thinks about God and what God is and how God is creating us, then you get excited about the proper things and in the proper way. That's ideal. That's a big battle. It's not automatic. That's what it means v'yabek. It has to be a battle, like wrestling. Shehu milashan chibuk v'yabek. The wrestle. The word for wrestle is also the same connection. Is from the same word as to be to hug. Chet and aleph come from the same source in the mo. Chibuk. When people are wrestling, you can't tell if the people are hugging each other or if they're fighting with each other. It's chibuk. From far away, you don't know. Shah chibuk is biyadayim. What does it mean to you hug someone? Same thing as wrestling. You wrap your arms around the other person. The two arms are chesed d'ruyamina. That's love and fear. That's what it was between Yaakov and the angel of Esav. Where is your love and fear going to go? Is it going to be selfish? Is it going to be godly? That's the whole battle over here. Second, 1 minute. that there's the love and the fear of Sam, of the power of evil, that also enclosed and wrapped the body of Yaakov, in order to knock him down, and that his heart of Yaakov should go after them. In other words, you have a battle. The battle is, what should you love? What should you fear? The Baal Shem Tov's father told him, only be afraid of God, only nothing else. What are you going to love? You're going to love and be afraid for yourself, or you're going to be love and be afraid of being separated from the Creator. Kamo amidos, just like the emotions of the animal soul, shall be short nefesh elokis, that they enclose, they wrap, they hug the godly soul, or monim, and they prevent it from getting excited about God. The only time that the angel of Esav can win is when the intellect of Yaakov is not working. Mochin to Abba. Like it says, the necessities, the needs of the Jewish people are many, but their mind is small. What does it mean? When a person's mind is small, that also means connection. When your connection to God is very small, and limited, then all you have in this, like a child's mind, then all of a sudden you have a tremendous number of desires in the world. Then you're separate. Like it says, Vatava Yabakesh Nifrad. It says, I think it's in Mishle, in Proverbs, that a person has a lot of desires, so he wants to be separate. It separates him from God. He has no trust. He's worried about what the future is. Nevertheless, Yaakov saw, they fought against the angel, and the angel saw that it could not defeat Yaakov, because Yaakov is Yud Akev. Yud, that's the revelation, Ayud, of Yesod Abba. This connecting aspect of faith was connected. Shehu Shorish Atzilus, the source of Atzilut, which Yaakov is Atzilut. Atzilut means holiness. This is the ability of Yaakov to connect himself constantly to the Creator and to draw into his emotions and his actions what the Creator wants. That first of all, it was under Lavan's control, but Yaakov was by Lavan for 20 years, and he refined himself and also everything that he did. Lavan, so Yaakov already conquered the the aspect of Lavan, and Yaakov attached himself to Lavan Elyon. We see Lavan Elyon is this upper crown of God, the higher, the source of Lavan. Therefore, he took Lavan's two daughters, Leah and Rachel, and Yaakov transformed them to holiness. So now Yaakov has this, his two arms, love and fear, are devoted to God. V'nimshach, this is drawn down also in his emotions, this bittul, this surrender from mochin the Abba, of the awareness of God, v'lo yachal nagoa, and therefore the angel of Esav could not defeat him, only in kafa yerech, only in his thigh. And we're suffering from that today. What is the thigh? Shehi ashpa mimenu lechutz, namely how a Jew relates to outside. Sheshama ora sabitel mu'etas, there it's very small. Kanoda she shekelav, that from the thigh is mavashli mazera shenasa gashmis, that from the thighs that's where the power of procreation comes, which originates in the brain, originates in the essence of the soul, the power of to give birth. But when it comes out, it can be diverted to selfish things. The same thing with the Jewish people. The Jewish people, when they're in the world, if they're not connected, they're not educated to what a Jew is, then the world can have a tremendous effect on them. But we see very interestingly that a Jew, even when he's in the world, and even if he denies his Judaism, he'll always say, I'm a Jew. He won't deny his Judaism totally. But even the Israelis that they say, I'm not a Jew, when it comes down to it, they'll say that they're Jewish. And that's what's happening now in the world. The world is waking up to the fact that I'm a Jew and nobody knows what it means. As soon as people find out what it means, that was the battle between Yaakov. He knew what it meant to be a Jew. He knew what godliness is. That's the Yud of Yaakov's name. Therefore, what was the battle? The devil, or the power of evil in the world, thought that Yaakov is just the emotions, but he didn't know that Yaakov was really connected, the Hari Kodesh, that the Yud of Yaakov we forgot about. The Chachma, that he had this Chachma of Yesod Abba. He underestimated his opponent, the devil. This battle is Zulu Masu. This is in the level of Docher, the Klippa. This is what's called the attacking aspect of Klippa. Klippa, I don't know if we're going to be able to finish this. There's the Klippa, evil has two aspects to it, masculine and feminine. Feminine is accepting, to be accepting, right? Whatever happens, I'll take it, I'll do it, right? Somebody comes up with an idea, and I go for it, right? Go for it. To hate, to kill, lust, thievery, dishonesty, whatever it is, he's a receptacle for all bad. That's called feminine aspect of Klippa. Then there's a masculine aspect of Klippa. That's taking over, hatred, going out. That's the masculine aspect. Shekeneged Zeranpin, that was Esav. On this, there is also the and this, there is a Zelum, Malchus of Klippa. There, this can oppose holiness. That's what's called the kingship, aspect of kingship of Klippa. That's the difference between Offer and Avak. Okay, the Rebbe is going to say like this. Maybe I'll skip a little bit so we can this. There's what's called dirt and there's what's called ashes. Avak is like, or dust. Dust, if you want to call it. Now, dirt grows and dust does not grow things. You can take dust, enough dust or ashes, and if you put water in it and you treat it properly, then maybe it can grow things up. But basically, it's dead. Dust is basically, it's dead. Dirt is alive. Dirt is alive. You water it, and it grows. Dirt grows things automatically. You see, there's forests that grow from dirt, but nothing grows from ashes or from dust. It says that Yaakov fought against the angel of Esav, and it says Yabek ito. Yavek is the word avak. It says that Rashi says that they lifted up dust. Dust came up. A cloud of dust came up. What does it mean a cloud came up? The life force which is enlivens evil is like dust. It's there as a very small amount of life in it. If you really treat it properly, then maybe things can grow from it. You have to gather it together and maybe put a little fertilizer in there, then it can grow. But naturally, it's not like the dirt of the ground. So the dirt of the ground, that's something like Yaakov. That's fertility. It makes things grow, life. And the avak, this dust, is like Esav. It's got a tiny amount of life in it. And that tiny bit of life, that's what keeps egotism going in the world. Yaakov's point is he wants the world to fully receive from the Creator. And says that Yaakov, therefore, fighting with him, he lifted the dust up. It lifted himself up. And he explains this in great length, but we haven't got time. The time is so let's just go to the end, which is not such a good idea, but it's better than not getting there at all. Here we go. Al-Zeh, that's what the rabbis say. Ha'alu, when Yaakov fought with the angel, Ha'alu, they elevated avak, this dust, ad kisei hakavod, to the crown, the throne of God's glory. What is the throne of God's glory? This is what's called Malchut of Atzilut. There's a lot of metaphors. In fact, every word in the prayers that we pray in the morning, every word refers to another aspect of godliness. There's a book which is called Shari Ora. And there's over there, it has every word of davening. Also, there's a lot of Sidurim of the Baal Shem, of the Arizal. There's one Yaakov couple, there's others, and every single word, it attaches to a different sphere, a different aspect of godliness. And that's what the idea of prayer is supposed to be, that we elevate ourselves and the world to its source. So this is another way of saying it, that we take the avak is the little bit of life which is in this world, even the bad things in the world that keeps them going, and we elevate it to kisei hakavod, to the crown, the throne of God's glory, which is Malchut of Atzilut. That's also another way of saying God's mouth, the creative, the source of creation. Shegam bechinas avak, that even this level of avak, of the dust, which has a little bit of life in it, but not very much, the source of all bad in the world, nitkalel, can be included above, can be by means of Birur Yaakov, by means of Yaakov, what Yaakov did. Kamosha kasher Yavek ishimo, that's what the thing of Yaakov wrestling with Esav. Yavek, the word Yavek also is the word for dust. Dust symbolizes the godly force which keeps evil alive in this world. Like dust has a little bit of life in it. And Yaakov elevated this up. Gam Yaakov nitchazek ubirur. Yaakov, I didn't say strengthened himself, and he also became refined from it. That's what it means, the he'alu, that they elevated. Lashon Rabim, lefisha birur hoya al yedei shneim. Yaakov also and Esav also became. So the whole thing, we thought that Yaakov was fighting with Esav, and that Yaakov's whole point is to elevate Esav, not to defeat him, not to kill him. His thing was to elevate him. And that's what he wrestled with them. Here he wrestled, first of all, it says with the power of Esav. This says that's the devil, the Samach Mem, the evil impulse, the angel of death. Who mitbarer. So it says not only did Yaakov refine the angel of death, refine all the bad in the world by this battle, but he also himself was refined. That's what it says, the he'alu, that they elevated, Shneim became elevated. Just like the angel of death, the angel with the forces of evil, they took their chesed and gevurah, their arms, its arms, around the chesed and gevurah, the love and fear of Yaakov. In other words, what is the battle over here? What are you going to love and fear? That's the whole battle. That's why they wrestled with each other. What are you going to have love and fear for? You're going to have love and fear for yourself, or you're going to have love and fear for the Creator. All right, all of the religions in the world basically are saying This is the best way for you, right? Why run after temporary, cheap pleasures in this world when it was waiting for you eternal bliss in the world to come? It's make the best investment. It's good for you. And Yaakov fought against that. Yaakov fought against it. Stop being excited about yourself. Stop being emotional about yourself. Be emotional about the Creator. He's creating you. God loves you more than you love yourself. What type of benefits are you going to get? Don't worry about it. That's not your point. There's no point. Your point is not what you're going to get. It's like a doctor that always thinking about is how much money he's going to get right? He's going to get paid. Doctors are supposed to think about health. Health, that's what's supposed to be. Right? Judges, they're supposed to think about justice, not about money. If they do, then they'll be bribed. That's what life is supposed to be, that we devote ourselves to principles of truth. But here we're talking about the source of the principles of all truth. And that is the Creator. And the Creator gave the Torah. The Torah says what are true values and what are not true values. And the true values are the true values, you're doing it not for you, you're doing it for the Creator. Even though the fact of the matter is that when you do things for the Creator, you're really doing it for you. Right? You're really doing it for yourself. It's like telling somebody, the children, whatever, don't eat sugar. But I like it. I enjoy it. Says, yeah, but you're doing it for the sake of your parents. Your parents are going to have to spend a lot of money on your teeth, and you're not going to be a good citizen. You won't be productive or anything like this, right? So you're doing it for your parents. You're doing it for the country. You're doing it for this, but really you're doing it for yourself also. You're going to be healthy. The same thing, if a person does what God says, in the end, it's going to be good for himself. We see the Jews, what did they get out of it? They got Holocaust and they got murdered and they get, so what's the benefit from it? So the answer to that is that there's no answer. Abraham was a Jew, the first Jew, by virtue of the fact that he went through 10 terrible tests, 10 terrible soul-racking proofs that it's not worthwhile to serve God, and God doesn't keep his promises, and that God is not the king of the universe. Right? God makes all sorts of, told Abraham, go from your land, I'll give you everything, and he didn't give him anything. Right? He made Abraham promises, you're going to get the Holy Land. We still haven't got the Holy Land. Or we still, maybe now God willing will give it to us. Right? We're always worried about what the United Nations is going to say, what this guy's going to say. Do we have? And so the promises that God made to Abraham 4,000 years ago, we still didn't really. The children are going to be like the stars of the sky. You know how many stars there are in the sky? A lot more than there are Jews. I guarantee you. So we have, but that's what Judaism is. Nevertheless, we're doing it for the sake of the truth, and and we feel this inside of ourselves. And that was the battle. What do you feel? You're going to go after your own personal feelings? That's what the angel of Esav said. I want it all and I want it now. And what does Yaakov's angel says? Do it for what God says. Do it what the Creator says. Make the world a perfect world, not just a temporary, pleasurable world. That's what it means that Yaakov, the angel of Esav, wrapped his arms around Yaakov, Chesed Gavur Shelo, his love and his fear on the body. And Yaakov also embraced the psalm, the angel of death, Kikain derech hamitabkim. That's the way that wrestlers do, but milchama. V'kachu derech hamilchama is Yetzer Hora. That's what the Yetzer Hora says. Like it says, Yolam Yargis, a person should always be anger himself, arouse yourself against your Yetzer Hora. Lochen koach gadol tshuva. That's the big power of doing tshuva. B'makam bali tshuva, a person where a bali tshuva are, and then he can't stand up. A person actually defied his evil impulse, his own selfishness. This is a big novelty. That's like Yaakov winning the battle. That says that therefore a person who's a Baal Tshuva, a person who has overcome himself and transformed himself, that he's higher than big tzaddikim. Why? Because he fought against the dragon, so to speak, and he has aroused in himself a greater power. Hainu milchamat zelum, it says that's the war of one against the other over Zeranpin, over the emotions. Zeranpin is the emotions. By means of this, Midborer, there was refined not only just Yaakov and Esav, but also Avak, also the dust in this war of one against the other, of Nukva, like we said, of the physical world. Like it says in the Zohar, it says that you have to love God. It's a commandment in the Torah. After Shema Yisrael, it says you have to love God with all of your hearts, with both of your hearts, which means both of your impulses. Da hu raza. This is the secret of serving God. That's also the idea of the sacrifices in the temple. You took a regular animal and you brought it and made it holy. The malchut the klippa. This we said the dust is what's called malchut, the lowest aspect, the enlivening aspect of klippa, of bad. Because we said it is dirt, but it has just a little tiny bit of life in it. It says, and by means of this battle, al kisei hakavod, it went up to the throne of glory, which that's what's called malchut of kedusha. That's the source of the creation of the world from holiness. Shemechinas malchut hu mishtalshel me'olam ad olam. It comes from the lowest aspect of atzilut, which is in the Torah is called God's mouth. It comes speech. It comes from world to world until malchut of atzilut comes until it comes to this physical world. Liot mokara avak, and that makes the dust. In other words, the power which enlivens bad in this world. And misham yipared, like it says, when God created the world, he made Eden, he made a garden, and it's separated. That's the idea of separation in the world. And malchut of klippa, where they came evil. And that's how it has the power to fight and to battle with nukva, the kedusha of holiness. The idea is not supposed to be to destroy the world or to get rid of the world or go to heaven. Right? Interesting, in the 5 books of Moses doesn't talk about heaven or hell at all. The idea is to transform this world, that the malchut of klippa, that the power which enlivens bad selfishness in this world, like avak, like you said, like is the metaphor for that is the dust. Nichlala will go up in the malchut the kedusha zeranpin in zeranpin. The emotions of this world will be included in the emotions of holiness, etc. Then the whole entire world will be excited about the Creator, and that's the whole entire idea of the holiday we're going to be celebrating, the Shabbat of Yutet Kislev, that the first Rebbe of Chabad was put into prison by the Tsarist government. And he actually convinced them that they were wrong. He actually convinced them that he was representing God. And they couldn't understand it, but nevertheless, they released him. So this was a victory not just for the Rebbe and not just for Chabad, but also for the whole world. That the non-Jews also, and Russia in those days was like, like it is today. It was like a superpower, Russia. They had a tremendous army. There were tremendously religious people, right? Fanatically Russian Orthodox over there. And here's this one little Jew and their whole religion of this Russian Orthodox is, the whole Christianity in general is saying that we're replacing Judaism. Judaism is wrong. Judaism is not the way that the Lord wants, and all these other things, right? That's our religion is going to take you into heaven. All of a sudden, this one little Jew stands there and says, "Hey, you guys, you're wrong." In the first chapter of the Tanya, it says that the non-Jews have no good in them at all. In other words, without learning from the Jews, then they're in the wrong direction. They got on the wrong train. And so you think that that's it. They would kill him immediately. How can you do a thing like that, talk against? He was a little nobody against everybody. The other Jews were also against him. They were the ones who put him into prison. And not only did he get out, but he convinced them all that he was right and that they should let him out, that really God is not what they think. And this began the whole entire movement of to bring Moshiach now. That's exactly what Moshiach is going to do. He's going to elevate not just the dust from Esav, but also Esav himself, and the whole entire world will realize that Hashem is one and that his name is one. Okay, that is today's. Now we'll have Yom Yom. 1 second. No, I got to go like this. Stop recording.